No importa lo lento que pueda ser el camino, mientras no te detengas en lograr quien quieres ser. A lo largo de esta pandemia, todos aprendimos nuevas formas de vivir, de ser y de trabajar. Sin duda, un desafío retador, pero también una oportunidad de aprender a mantenernos cerca de ti, porque lograr tu sueño de estudiar en Canadá también es nuestro sueño. Los retos de la vida no están ahí para paralizarte, sino para ayudarte a descubrir quién eres. En Canadá, ahora el futuro es más claro. Poco a poco la normalidad está de vuelta. Canadá te necesita para participar en su sistema educativo, laboral y para que seas parte de su economía. Vuelve a inspirarte en tu sueño de estudiar, trabajar y quedarte a vivir en Canadá. No olvides lo aprendido, solo hay un hoy. Todo empieza aquí y ahora. Hazlo con Class Education. Class Education presenta un espacio que te brinda información de valor referente a la amplia gama de programas y beneficios de estudiar en Canadá para que tomes la mejor decisión. Class TV. Queda con ustedes nuestro anfitrión, Bruno Perón.
Muy buenas noches a todos. Bruno Perón aquí saludándolos una vez más en nuestro episodio de Class Education TV. Hoy estamos en vivo otra vez con otra escuela canadiense, una universidad en Manitoba que nos va a acompañar y vamos a hablar ampliamente de ello, con ellos y de ellos. Y vamos a tener también un testimonio de la universidad con nosotros. Les recuerdo que estamos en vivo en este momento en Facebook Live, YouTube y también LinkedIn. Y el equipo de clase está allá con ustedes para apoyarlos, para tomar sus preguntas, en contestarles en vivo y también pasarnos las preguntas a nosotros que vamos a estar en la pantalla para contestar para el beneficio de todos ustedes. Y estando ahí en las redes, si les puedo pedir que nos ponen un like y un compartir y suscribir a nuestro canal, nos ayudará mucho a seguir diseminando este mensaje. Y todo eso con el afán de ayudar a la mayor cantidad posible de gente que desea ir a estudiar a Canadá y tomar mejores decisiones en este proceso, porque este canal se trata precisamente de eso, ¿no? De ser bien informado para tomar buenas decisiones con respecto a sus proyectos de estudiar en Canadá. ¿Ok? Muy bien. Entonces, es lo que les quería comentar primero. Para la gente que son nuevos aquí, que no nos conocen, bienvenidos. Les cuento que un poquito más sobre Class Education, quiénes somos. Somos la empresa que da esos espacios informativos cada jueves en Facebook, LinkedIn y YouTube, y cada martes a las 6 p.m. en Instagram Live. Y entonces somos una empresa canadiense especialista en consultoría educativa. Trabajamos con programas de educación superior, pero también campamentos de invierno y verano, high school, programas de idioma, programas de estudia y trabaja. Entonces, todos los programas, todo el panorama de programas que existe en Canadá, lo trabajamos. Como decía, somos una empresa orgullosamente canadiense de origen. Hoy día tenemos 28 años de experiencia. Hemos enviado más de 10,000 alumnos a estudiar a Canadá y trabajamos con unos 300 instituciones a lo largo del país. Entonces, somos una empresa bastante bien consolidada que les puede ayudar en su proceso de ir a estudiar a Canadá. Y los servicios que ofrecemos son muy amplios, pero empezando con la consultoría educativa y pasando toda la parte de inscripción a los programas, conseguir la carta de aceptación y dar seguimiento a todo el proceso de registros en las escuelas, alojamiento, seguro médico, trámites de visa, de estudios y también de trabajo para la persona que va estudiando, pero también para su pareja y o hijos, si es el caso, si van con toda la banda. También recepción en el aeropuerto, traducción de documentos, revalidación de estudios, todo eso lo pueden ir viendo con Classification, su socio en Canadá, que les puede asistir y acompañar a lo largo de este gran proyecto que estoy seguro les puede cambiar la vida. ¿Ok? Entonces, eso es quién es Classification y como pueden ver abajo, somos miembros de varias entidades y gobiernos, ¿no?, que rigen un poco la industria de estudios en el extranjero, como es la Embajada de Canadá, AMTE, la Asociación Mexicana de Turismo Educativo, la Cámara de Comercio Canadiense y otras entidades así. ¿Ok? Muy bien. Vamos con la siguiente. Hoy día, los puntos que les quiero comentar, que son para mí los más importantes, pero vamos a ir más en detalle con esos puntos sobre la escuela de hoy, que es International College of Manitoba, que está adentro de una institución pública que se llama la Universidad de Manitoba. Entonces, es una institución pública ubicada en Winnipeg, Canadá. Winnipeg es conocido como el corazón de Canadá, es el punto medio en todo nuestro país, nuestro gran país, es el punto justo en el centro del país. Winnipeg se encuentra una de las mayor industrias aeroespacial de Canadá y también de América del Norte. Ofrecen programas como certificados, diplomas, licenciaturas y posgrados. Los áreas de estudios son Agriculture and Food Services, Liberal Arts, Business, Engineering, Environment, Recreation Management, and Science. Lo digo en inglés porque pues así viene, ¿no? Es mejor no hacer traducción libre para mí. Muchos de sus programas cuentan con co-op, que son prácticas laborales dentro de su programa. Entonces, eso es muy bueno para adquirir experiencia e inclusive ser remunerado por los mismos. Manitoba ofrece una vida mucho más económica que centros como Vancouver o Toronto. De ahí dice 20%, yo iría hasta un 30%, pero nos dijeron que un 20%. Yo creo que es más económico que eso aún. Y otro dato muy importante y muy positivo, el 90%, sino más de los estudiantes que se gradúan de esta institución encuentran trabajo en su área de estudios al terminar sus estudios. ¿Okay? Entonces, un dato muy, muy importante, muy positivo para quien quiere encontrar trabajo después de sus estudios aquí en Canadá en su área de estudio. ¿Ok? Muy bien. Entonces, eso para mí son los puntos más importantes. Pero ahora sí, si están listos, vamos a empezar con nuestro invitado hoy. Regresamos en un segundo ya con la participación de la escuela que nos acompaña hoy. Muy bien, pues como vieron en la plantilla, decía, estudiar en la mejor universidad de Manitoba. Es una gran universidad. Con nosotros les voy a presentar a mi invitada del día de hoy, que nos acompaña desde la universidad, desde Winnipeg, aquí en Canadá, la señorita Jenny Danino. Jenny, good evening. How are you, Jenny?
Hi, good evening. I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. I hear you're on vacation. And you're making a little special for being here with us tonight. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
July in Canada, and Winnipeg is no exception. July in Canada is sacred. Sacred. You know, we enjoy your summers, and I understand you're on vacation, but we won't take too much of your time tonight. But thank you very much for being here with us.
Oh, no problem. My pleasure. Don't worry. Right after this, I'm heading out to my deck to have a drink on my deck in the backyard because it's a beautiful, beautiful, you can see the sun still out. Wonderful evening here in Winnipeg. Yeah, we're having a beautiful time. Sun doesn't really set until 10 p.m. So we have a long night ahead of us. I'll have a fire in the yard. Yeah.
It's crazy. We should do our lives on the deck with a glass of wine maybe next time. We should think about that.
If that's something that you're interested in, Bruno, I'm 100% on board with that. No problem here.
I am very interested. I'm not sure it would be appropriate, but I'm very interested.
Happy to oblige that concept as well.
That's right. Okay, Jenny, today's episode of Class TV will be in English, so I'm sure the people who are listening to us will understand, because if they wish to study in Canada, they need to speak English. And if they do not, I think on Facebook Live, there's a direct translation. So you can even read what we're saying as we say it, I think, on Facebook. So you can use that translation tool if you need. But in the meantime, Jenny, I'd like to ask you a first question. And I think it's a question right out of the gate. What's it like to live in Winnipeg, Manitoba, the heart of the country? And I'm sure you're going to say nice things about Winnipeg. So tell us these nice things, but also tell us why you feel that way. And why would Winnipeg be a good place for international students to first arrive in Canada?
For sure. Winnipeg is, it's going to be a very different experience. I think Winnipeg is quite quintessentially Canadian. And by that, I mean, it's really what you're thinking of when you think of Canada. Canada has really big cities. Canada has some beautiful countryside. We have some beautiful parks. We have really wonderful nature. It's a huge country, and it's very, very different from coast to coast. We have mountains, we have oceans, we have, it's a very, very different place. We're right in the very center, as you said, so the heart of Canada. And the very middle of Canada can be a really unique experience, but it is what you're thinking of, I think, when people think Canada. If you picture people, canoeing in a small boat down a river, with pine trees on either side, that is Manitoba. That's my province. That's what you get here. We are a fairly large city by Canadian standards, but of course we are considered a fairly small city by the world standards. And I've been to many big cities in the world. When you arrive in Winnipeg, I think you'll be hopefully surprised in a really good way about what kind of warm welcome you're going to have. The people here are kind of one of the best things about being here. It's what keeps me here. I am from Manitoba. I choose to stay. This is where I have a home. It's affordable for me to do that. So there are a lot of huge benefits to choosing a place like Winnipeg and Manitoba. And not only the cost, it's a very affordable place to live. And so people do choose to immigrate here over other cities that are a little bit less accessible in that way. This is, again, a really friendly, open, high immigration place, which means there's lots of people here from all over. Manitoba or Winnipeg food, for example, would be lots of different things. So you're going to find your comfort foods when you arrive here. We have kind of become known as the place for a lot of different festivals that celebrate things like food. Culture, art, we are and have been for many years sort of the culture capital of Canada. We have, again, celebrations and festivals that we really embrace, a lot of our local art and culture. So it's a really warm, welcoming place. The people here are sort of some of the nicest in Canada, we often hear. So when you kind of land here in Winnipeg, you're supported from day one, especially choosing a place like ICM, right? As we know, a transfer program helping you along the way. That's just the beginning of your experience here in Winnipeg.
Well, I see now why you landed that job about marketing manager. You can certainly tell a nice story about a nice place, but everything you said is true, because I've been to Winnipeg as well. It is a beautiful place. People in Winnipeg are like, you're right, the typical Canadian, the activities, the food, the climate, the scenery. So yeah, it's I think it's I think you've described it very well. Now tell us, let's talk about ICM and what it means, because I'm not sure if everyone that's on the call understand what ICM is. So you are an institution that's within another institution. You are within a university, and you act as a transfer program to ease the entrance to Canada, to the university world, and different language, different culture, different pace. And so you make that transfer easier. You make it also less stressful, I think, and certainly more successful. So let's talk about that, I think, because these are very, very important points.
Yeah, no, and I hope that's what students, people, families, I hope that's the feeling. I hope that, exactly as you said, I hope that people see ICM and the full experience that they have through us as the softer, easier way to really come into something so completely different from what you're used to. Not only is university life totally different from your high school, former life. But going to a completely different country is quite a shock as well. I mean, I continuously say this, but I think it's just one of the bravest things a teenager can do. I am constantly in awe of these young people who have taken this, made this decision and done this choice and taken this chance to adventure off to another country to pursue post-secondary. And I think that not only is that, something to really be proud of, but it doesn't hurt to have a little extra help along the way. It's not a super easy thing to do. And so what's really great and in a way unique, because there are only certain programs, certain universities in Canada that offer this transition program. Not every university does this. We're one of a couple of different universities who offers this option, and it is a transfer option. It's a nice way to ease yourself into the process of going to university again in a totally different country, with different currency, with different prices for things, with different places to, buy things you need, with a different education system as well. And so, I think the biggest pull, the biggest reason that the University of Manitoba, as a very prestigious, very wonderful university, the choice, the reasoning behind choosing to, partner with ICM to help ease that transition for international students was recognition that students who are coming from another country, they haven't grown up here in Canada with the system here. They're not as familiar with, what happens here in the city or in Canada. So wouldn't it make sense to help guide them in certain ways to kind of create a first year experience? And that's exactly what it is. It's not an extra year. It's not extra time put onto your degree program. It's the first year. It's just in a slightly smaller setting. It is right on campus. So yeah, we are within the campus, within the university, but our classes are a little smaller. So you get to know friends in your class. You get to know your teachers really well. You understand a little bit better what's going on. English is probably your second language in most cases for many students. And so it's nice to have a little bit extra time to converse with your teachers, make friends in class. Your classes are a little longer, which helps you to get used to the idea of studying in university. And you have so many supports here. We have so many people dedicated to success. We want students to succeed and do well. And that's really our key. That's our key motivation for doing this. This is really to help students make sure that they're transitioning into university with the best support system they can have so that they do well. University, when you finally get into your second year, it's not an easy thing to do, right? This is a challenge. It's a good challenge. But it is a good thing to kind of have the strongest base you can that first year to really do well, succeed, make friends, make connections, and that sets you up for the next 3 or so years very well.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think you're right when you said that international students have different needs while studying in Canada, and they don't have the same needs as Canadian students, so they should be in a particular program. And it has been proven with numbers that students that have that sort of pathway approach to in their first year university do better. First of all, they stay, and then they stay to the second year, and then they do better in the university, and they do also better in the workplace and as a adaptation overall in Canada. So I think it's a very, very good program, very important for international students to consider that when they come into a Canadian university. Okay, we have some questions, but there's a really good one, I think, from Andres de Hidalgo. It says, is it easy for Mexicans to go to Winnipeg to work and study? I would say yes, but let's talk about, of course it is, but let's talk about how easy it is and how exactly it works.
Sure. So it is easy, especially for students who are, again, kind of on the ICM path. And so let's kind of talk about what makes the ideal ICM student. So the ideal person to come through our program is someone who has very recently, like within the last year, or is currently finishing high school. So someone who is brand new out of high school, who is finishing or again finished their high school program, their final year, they've completed it, they're ready to go into university. And this is a person who is seen as a really ideal candidate when applying to study and to travel into Canada. So is it easy? Typically, yes. If you are applying with a letter of acceptance from ICM, then chances are very good that you'll be able to travel into Canada very easily. To study and work is a very good question. Majority of our students are students who are able to work part-time as they study. We would not recommend students do that in their first term. So usually by second term, so about halfway through their program, let's say, they can get a part-time job. It all depends on when you enter. The visa officer that is standing there in front of you, they're going to give you the study permit. And at that moment, they can give you a study permit that just says study permit, or they can give you one that is a study permit and as work permit as well. And this is going to give you part-time work access. So unfortunately, it's not up to me, it's not up to Bruno, it's up to our officers on the ground when you arrive in Canada, if you're able to work. But most students do have that option.
Exactly. And one clarification here. In class education, for all our students, we do their study permit. And you're right, their study permit will allow them to work upon their arrival in Canada, because ICM is within a public institution, which allows you to work part-time while you're studying and full-time during maybe, vacation like the summertime. And work, there is work, and there is a lot of work. So thank you for your question, Andrew. Andres, he's already said thank you for the response. So it is that simple. Anyone that studies in a Canadian institution at post-secondary level for at least 1 year can work while they're studying, and upon graduation will get a 1-year postgraduate work permit, which is a work permit to work after your graduation for 1 year if you study for 1 year. But if you study for 2 years or more, in this case, for ICM, it's 4 years, then you would get a postgraduate work permit for 3 years, right? So that's a long time. That means you study for 4 years where you can also work, and then you work for 3 years full time. And then after 1 year that you start working, if you have a letter of interest from your employer saying that you're working there, that they're willing to keep you there in a not an entry level position, but a managerial position, then you have pretty much all you need to apply for the permanent residency, which is, I know, in a lot of people's mind. So speaking of which, before we go to the next question, Jenny, I'd like to do a little survey with the people who are listening to us, and I'll take more questions after that. I've got more questions. The questions are really coming in now, so I think it's interesting. So I'm going to say this in Spanish, okay, to make sure I get everybody's attention. A ver, toda la gente que tiene pregunta, es momento de poner sus preguntas en el chat. Vamos a empezar a tomar preguntas y vamos a seguir hablando del programa, pero también vamos a hacer una encuesta primero. Quiero saber qué les motiva a ver este episodio de Class TV hoy, y básicamente queremos saber dónde están en su toma de decisión. La primera opción es que están aquí, es una sesión informativa, es la primera vez que se interesan por la oferta de estudiar en Canadá, lo cual es muy, muy válido. La segunda opción es para mejorar su perfil profesional estudiando en Canadá, para regresar a México o a su país de origen y encontrar mejor trabajo, lo cual también es válido. La tercera opción es lograr la residencia canadiense a través de estudios. Ya saben o han escuchado algo al respecto de eso y quieren entender mejor cómo funciona, como acabamos de comentar ahorita. Y la cuarta opción es, ya esa decisión ya está tomada, ya tomaron su decisión, quieren, o sea, ya tienen un pie en el avión, digamos, y quieren estar en Canadá, quieren estar estudiando, trabajando y eventualmente quizás emigrando a Canadá, pero están viendo nada más en qué institución van a ir, ¿ok? Esa es la cuarta opción. Entonces, son las 4 opciones. Les pido que vayan votando. Ya va ganando los que sí saben del programa y que sí quieren lograr la residencia canadiense y están aquí para encontrar mayor información de cómo funciona y dónde podría hacer esos estudios. Y ICM aquí es una buena opción, ¿no? Y aquí, pues, el 20% nos va diciendo que la decisión ya está tomada. Nada más es cuestión de ver dónde van a ir a estudiar. Ahí está gente que está en la categoría de 33%, de la cuarta categoría, y la que está en la roja, de 50%. Les pediría que, con todo respeto, que nos dejen sus datos para que podamos empezar a ayudarlos a hacer este programa, este sueño, una realidad lo antes posible, porque recuerden que las instituciones canadienses se están llenando de forma más rápida cada vez. Entonces hay que trabajar con anticipación y identificar bien cuál es la institución y el programa que mejor les sirve. ¿Ok? Bueno, entonces vamos a mantener esta encuesta activa. Así que pueden seguir votando y la vamos a ver un poco más adelante. ¿Ok? Muy bien. Jenny, very interesting. You see, we had like about 33% of the people that said that they have already taken the decision as to they're going to Canada. They're just looking at where they're going to go, either which city, which institution, or which program. And an overwhelming majority was saying that they've heard about the benefits of studying in Canada, including the residency and all that, and they want to get more information to make a better decision. So about 80% of the people on the call know about this, and that's what they want, and that's what they want to inquire more about. So let's talk some more about that. Sure. Manitoba has one of the best immigration program into the country. It's called PNP, Provincial Nominee Program. It's a unique program. Not all the provinces have that program. Manitoba has it. What can you tell? I know you're not an immigration consultant, but what can you tell us about that program? How does it work? And why is Manitoba an easier place, if I may say, to immigrate upon graduation than some other places?
Sure. So I am not a visa person. I'm not an immigration person, absolutely. And so I am not, promoting specifically or what have you, anything in particular. But yeah, we do have a very high, sorry, let me just make sure all of these things come up here. So I do have a very high percentage of people who find that Manitoba is, again, a very wonderful and exciting place to be, but it's also, of course, a really wonderful place to stay. It's a wonderful place to make the decision to make Canada your home, and a lot of that comes down to the fact that we are looking, as Manitoba, we are looking for skilled people. We want people who can be able to come into Manitoba and provide us with their expertise, who will come study and work here and really help boost our province. And so the province has decided, to do this Manitoba Provincial Nominee Program. And what this means is that when you study and work and want to stay, the province will support that and they will help you in that final process. And it is a process. We kind of briefly touched there on the fact that once you've studied, especially in a program like a university program where you study for at least 3 to 4 years, you will have 3 years postgraduate work permit that you are able to work. And while you're doing that, you can then apply for your permanent residency, which is kind of your first step into staying in Canada permanently, and becoming a permanent resident and citizen. And so we are a province that really supports and promotes this to people who have chosen education as their path. This slide, I know there's a lot of text on here, but it is good to showcase two of the really best ways that students who are interested in post-secondary or higher education can kind of take advantage of this system. So the international education stream, so this is a career employment pathway. This is really for post-secondary students who graduate. They're finding that long-term employment, as you mentioned, Bruno. And with a program through ICM that goes into a University of Manitoba degree, chances are very good that you are finding employment after you've graduated and you're gainfully employed. And by that, I mean you are employed in a job that is directly related to your program, because you may have taken advantage of our co-ops, which again, briefly touched on, the fact that you can work and study at the same time, and all that work that you do through a co-op counts towards your degree, but also counts as really valuable experience and networking with the companies that you might want to work with again. So these people will be very familiar with who you are, they will want to keep you, and they'll help to make sure that that happens should you choose to stay. So students who have long-term employment after they've finished their school, and they have that offer as a full-time job from a Manitoba employer with a contract, this is something that's going to help students to really be extra eligible, if I may, to really apply to the provincial nominee program. And so really this is an excellent path. Again, it's a serious path that we see people on, and this is really helpful for students looking to, again, stay permanently here in the province and in Canada. We do want people to really come through who are skilled, who are looking to improve themselves through education and work. So yeah, this is a great opportunity, and this isn't something necessarily new. This is something we've been doing a long time. It's been very successful for a long time, and it's not going anywhere. This is something that Manitoba needs. And so yeah, it's great to take a look into this information on the website, to speak with our friends here at class and some other immigration lawyers if you're looking for a lot of extra help on how to get through this path. This is a good path to take. This is one of the simplest ways.
Yeah. The economy is going very well in the province, and so this is also a strategy that the government of Canada and the province of Manitoba have put in place also to attract more people to go to destination like Winnipeg, and also for less people to go to the big centers like Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, because that's where most people go, because that's what we know. That's what the international airports are, and it's easy and it's like the first destination. But I think there's a lot of opportunity, and I've said this many times. There are lots of opportunities in middle-sized cities, and Winnipeg maybe being more on the bigger size city, but outside of the top 3 cities in the country, Winnipeg is probably in the top 10 cities in the country, right? Or top 5 maybe.
Yeah, we sort of share 6th and 7th place with a few different cities that are in the GTA, so kind of the cities that are around Toronto proper. So we in Winnipeg, and Mississauga are often, they switch between 6th and 7th largest. So we're within the top 10 biggest population cities, but again, we're not super populated. We haven't quite cracked even 900 yet, so we're not there yet. But we do have a lot going for us. In fact, a lot of different industries have really decided to make Manitoba their hub, and that's because, and I quote from Ubisoft, which we have a location here. They're here because the talent is here. They recognize that Winnipeg and Manitoba offer a lot of people who have gone through some really impressive. So this would be like computer sciences or engineering courses. We also have an aerospace hub, which I know you mentioned a little bit earlier. And so people who are doing, really impressive things with education will still find these opportunities, and in fact may find more opportunities in those fields when they choose to stay here in Manitoba.
And they will make, because of the quality of the education as well, they make a very good salary, and the cost of living being so much lower than other places in Canada, you'll just end up with more money in your pockets, right? Which is, I think, something we should all have in mind, right? No, I will not attempt to pronounce the name of the people who put that that question together. But he says, what about older students around 30-ish? I finished high school 10 years ago. And I'll tell you what, Jenny, we have a lot of students like this gentleman here or this lady there that are in their 30s. I would call them the young professionals. I would think, if I can describe this group of people, which is a big group of people, they graduated maybe 10 years ago. They finished maybe their bachelor's degree, maybe even have a master's. They're working in Mexico or in Latin America, but they don't see a lot of improvement in their life. The quality of their life is questionable, at least. There are security issues in different places in Latin America, and there's also work issues in terms of stability and pay and being able to buy a house eventually and be able to make a living. And so salaries are often not so well paid in Mexico and other places. So that's a big group of our clients there. What about these students? Is it feasible for them to consider going back to university and restarting again?
Absolutely. If you are motivated to try to go back to university again to accomplish a bachelor's degree here, for example, if you wanted to start again in a different field, you can't hold the same bachelor's degree or undergraduate degree in the same field in a different country, but you could you could be a transfer student if you have accomplished a few years worth of university but never finished. for example. If you have finished a degree in your home country, you can also apply to potentially master's programs or postgraduate programs. My best advice, ICM unfortunately is not the transfer program for you, but the University of Manitoba, of course, you can apply directly into programs that fit with what you're looking for. My advice too would be to look at some of the shorter term postgraduate programs. So between 1 and 2 years, there are a lot of different programs, some through an extended education department, for example, within the university. There are also other really wonderful institutions within Manitoba that offer sort of that postgraduate short-term program option. And a lot of international students have chosen that path, as it does still qualify them for a postgraduate work permit of 1 to 2 years. If it is a 2-year program, you could get that 3-year postgraduate work permit, which is really ideal. Sometimes I do find that some of the students who are maybe in their 30-ish or is, I like that. I'm also in my 30-ish, so I relate to you there.
I wish I was in my 30-ish.
And on the back end of my 30-ish. But if you finished a lot of your education, which is great if you've completed it all, for example, in Mexico, and perhaps you hadn't taken maybe enough English, or English isn't the language that you've been working in a long time. Sometimes doing an English program that could lead into a postgraduate program at another institution within Manitoba could be a really good experience for you as well. So let's not forget, you will need English in order to apply to, of course, my program and University of Manitoba, and really any of the other programs through other institutions. Manitoba is a different province when it comes to institutions. I'll say that now. It might sound strange that I'm promoting other places, but we all collectively get along very well, and we really want students to be able to find the program and the institution that fits them best. And we have quite a few great options, but we don't have that many colleges and universities in our province. We're a small group, and so we are actually a group that works together through a council that we're all a part of, and so we're happy to kind of help recommend what fits with certain students better. If it's not my program that you're looking for, I'd still encourage you to look at other Manitoba institutions that might suit your needs best.
Yeah, thank you for that answer. I think it's an important question for a lot of people in Mexico and Latin America are in that position, and that's the fastest growing segment of our clientele. People between 25 and 45 years old who are thinking, the more, I'll say it in Spanish because I know this is for the audience. Sé que muchos de ustedes están entre 25 y 45 años y están pensando, lo más que cambia, lo más que es lo mismo, ¿no? Y las cosas no cambian y no avanzamos. Y las oportunidades laborales son instables, a veces no tan bien pagadas. Hay un asunto de seguridad que no lo podemos ignorar simplemente. Y también calidad de vida, ¿no? Y creo que cada vez más gente, como ya el mundo es más global, cada vez más gente viaja y se da cuenta que hay otras maneras de vivir. Y Canadá, pues, está en una posición inversa a la de México. Es decir, hay muchísimo trabajo y hace falta gente. Y hay muchísima seguridad y el país está buscando atraer gente para aprovechar las oportunidades aquí. Y somos un país que tenemos una tasa de natalidad en 0.02%, entonces nada. Entonces dependemos de inmigración. Y además de eso, la pandemia aceleró la jubilación de muchas personas en Canadá. Entonces hay muchos puestos ya descubiertos y que se van a seguir descubriendo, abriendo pues en los próximos años. Entonces eso crea muchas oportunidades para todos los trabajadores. Aquí está una gráfica que les quiero enseñar. Mira, lo que estoy diciendo aquí es que hay 1,100 personas que se jubilan cada día. Eso es por día, ¿ok? En Canadá. Y ven que la tasa de mortalidad y nacimiento, pues no avanzamos, es casi lo mismo. Hay 12 canadienses que se van del país diariamente para trabajar en empresas canadienses o para trabajar en el extranjero o vivir en el extranjero. Y hay 648 inmigrantes. Eso nos da una tasa neta negativa de más de 400 puestos al día que se van liberando. Entonces el gobierno canadiense tiene que hacer algo. Porque hay no es que la gente se va, la gente joven o más o menos joven que entra a Canadá entrar para quedarse y les gusta y quieren hacer Canadá su país, su destino final, total. Pero hay mucha gente que se está jubilando y esta fuerza laboral que va saliendo del mercado está creando muchas oportunidades. Y por eso muchas de las instituciones, si no todas, tienen tasas de 85 a 95% de los egresados que encuentran trabajo luego después de graduarse porque hay muchas oportunidades. Y lo que hizo el gobierno canadiense es claramente elegir el sistema educativo para nutrir a su sistema de migración. ¿Okay? Entonces, Canadá quiere que la gente que inmigra al país sea preparados, calificados, certificados por instituciones canadienses reconocidas, aclimatizados también a nuestro clima laboral y que pueden participar activamente en las empresas canadienses para que sigamos siendo la fuerza económica que somos hoy día en el mundo, que somos un país de los G7, que son las 7 economías más grandes del mundo, ¿no? Entonces, esa es un poco la estrategia del gobierno canadiense y eso no lo digo yo solo, lo dice también nuestro ex ministro de Inmigración, el señor Medicino. You remember Minister Medicino, Jenny, what he said? He said on many occasions in 2020, 2021, and before he left his post, y mira lo que dijo, dice, nuestro mensaje a los estudiantes y graduados internacionales es sencillo. No solo queremos que estudien aquí, queremos que se queden aquí. Cuando tu ministro de Inmigración te dice, vénganse a estudiar porque queremos que se queden aquí a vivir, a hacer su futuro en nuestro país, pues el mensaje es sumamente claro y es la estrategia del gobierno canadiense. Tanto que el gobierno canadiense tenía una meta de lograr, de atraer inmigrantes de más o menos 900,000 o 800,000 en los años atrás. Y el año pasado, en 2021, hicimos un target de 2021, 2022 y 2023 de 1.2 millones de inmigrantes. Y esta meta fue hace poquito incrementada para 2022, 2023 y 2024 a 1.350,000 inmigrantes en esos 3 años. Entonces, sigue creciendo esta cifra porque sigue haciendo falta gente para trabajar, pero gente calificada, gente preparada, graduada de instituciones canadienses. Entonces, ese es el camino y por eso tenemos a instituciones como ICM aquí con nosotros para promover sus programas, para que vean que en Manitoba no es ninguna excepción y lo pueden hacer inclusive a precio más económico por la provincia que cuesta menos que vivir en otras partes del país. Okay, Jenny, sorry, I hope you're brushing up on your Spanish while I'm talking in Spanish. I hope you're taking notes.
I'm getting every 15th word.
Okay, I was just talking about the message from our Minister of Immigration and the clear fact that the government of Canada has chosen the education providers such as you to prepare certified and really prepare international students into the workforce in Canada and make their entrance easy for them and also easy for companies and also easy for the government, because once you become employed, you start paying taxes and you produce in our economy, and that's what we all want, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. It's good for everyone, right? It's a great chance for people to be in Canada and to maybe, like you said before, start a new life or to try their hand at their first post-education world. And we need people to choose Canada. We want people to come here and be a part of our system, a part of our country, and education is just the best way. And so it works really well hand in hand to kind of promote it through the government this way as well. So yes, government is a big support of students coming through here to institutions in Canada.
Right. Jenny, we have a student of yours who's on the line. I'd like to bring her in. Her name is Valeria Zamora. Jessica, let's see if we can bring her on. And I'd like us to have a little discussion with Jessica, with Valeria. Hola, Valeria, ¿cómo estás?
Hola, muy bien, gracias, Bruno. ¿Y tú?
Muy bien, muchas gracias. Gracias por estar aquí con nosotros el día de hoy y para compartirnos. Estoy seguro que el chat se va a poner loco ahorita con preguntas. Valeria, cuéntanos rápidamente quién eres, cuánto tiempo tienes en Winnipeg, qué estás estudiando y por qué escogiste ICM y cómo te va hasta ahorita.
Muy bien, mi nombre es Valeria Zamora, yo soy de la Ciudad de México y llegué a Winnipeg en enero de este año. Yo ya terminé ICM, lo terminé en mayo y empecé en la Universidad de Manitoba en mayo también. Ahorita estoy trabajando, no estoy haciendo clases. En mayo y en junio sí tomé 2 clases en la universidad, pero ahorita julio y agosto no estoy tomando clases y estoy trabajando. Y ya en septiembre ya voy a empezar clases otra vez.
¿Estás trabajando tiempo completo? Porque en épocas de vacación puedes trabajar. Digamos que tomaste la mitad del verano para adelantar materias y la segunda parte del verano, que es julio-agosto, va a estar trabajando tiempo completo, ¿correcto?
Se puede tiempo completo, pero no estoy trabajando tiempo completo ahorita. Son como 15 horas a la semana.
Okay.
Pero sí, en vacaciones, en verano, sí se puede trabajar tiempo completo, que son 40 horas a la semana.
Okay. ¿Qué vas a estudiar en septiembre en la Universidad de Manitoba?
Pues ahorita voy a hacer mi degree de Ciencias Biológicas. Se llama Ecology and Environmental Biology. Y voy a hacer 2 minors, uno en francés y el otro en Environmental Sciences.
Très bien. ¿Tu parles français alors?
Un poquito.
Bravo. Ok, entonces vas a hablar francés, inglés, español, nada mal.
Sí.
Muy bien. A ver, entonces, y ahora dinos, ¿por qué escogiste ICM y lo que esperabas comparado con lo que viviste? Cuéntanos un poco de esa experiencia.
Pues yo en prepa, yo me fui a estudiar a la isla de Vancouver, me fui a estudiar por un semestre y yo quería estudiar en Canadá mi universidad. Entonces, pues empecé a buscar diferentes universidades para venirme acá a Canadá y encontré la Universidad de Manitoba, que también tiene ICM como primer año y supe que ICM es como una manera de transición para los estudiantes internacionales que vienen a Canadá y pues también me di cuenta que Manitoba es una de las provincias en donde el costo de vida es más bajo.
Cierto.
Entonces, pues sí, eso fue lo que me trajo acá a pues estudiar acá y pues a mí me encanta la vida acá. O sea, llevo desde enero, pero pues estoy muy feliz con mi escuela, con los amigos que he hecho, en donde vivo, con las calles y acá también, yo estoy en un homestay ahorita y pues mi homestay me ha prestado su bici, entonces pues yo ando en bici por todas partes y es algo que en México yo no hacía porque pues yo soy de la Ciudad de México, entonces pues no, nunca me animé a
No
andar
es
en
una ciudad
bici.
para bicicleta, ¿no?
No, entonces aquí pues me gusta, porque pues puedo ir a casa de mis amigas en bici y regresarme en bici y ahorita está anocheciendo tarde, entonces pues me puedo quedar hasta las 9:40 y regresarme a las 10 y todo bien. Entonces me gusta y pues hay muchísimos internacionales acá.
Entonces, ¿recomendarías mucho tanto Manitoba como Winnipeg como ICM por tu experiencia allí? ¿Has sido muy satisfecha?
Sí, a mí, yo soy muy feliz acá, me gusta el ambiente, las personas, los lugares y pues ya también tengo un trabajo, entonces me gusta y
Is it
estoy feliz acá.
Is it true what Jenny is saying that Winnipeg or Manitobans are the nicest Canadians?
Well,
Careful there. I'm not from Manitoba, but I'm a nice guy.
son muy lindos. A mí, la mujer con la que me estoy quedando es muy linda conmigo, me ha ayudado en lo que le he pedido y en lo que he necesitado. Entonces, mis maestros también son muy lindos. Los de Victoria, yo también me quedé en un homestay. Victoria está en la isla de Vancouver, en donde me quedé, y ahí también eran muy buenas personas.
Mm.
Entonces, yo diría que igual de Victoria y de acá son muy buenas personas. Yo no he conocido Saskatchewan o Ontario, Toronto, yo no he estado ahí, pero pues de Manitoba y de Victoria son muy buenos.
Ay, muy bien, muy bien. Buena respuesta. Digamos que es un trait común que tienen los canadienses, ser normalmente muy abierto, muy receptivo, muy hospitalosos, también, igual que los mexicanos, yo diría. A ver, entonces, Valeria, hay mucha gente que nos está escuchando ahorita y si tienen preguntas, y quisiera que nos hagan llegar sus preguntas, si tienen preguntas para Valeria, pero ¿qué les podrías decir a la gente que está escuchando, que están pensando hacer eso? Por ejemplo, Andrés de Hidalgo tiene una muy buena pregunta que vamos a tomar en un momento más. ¿qué les podrías decir que les podrá ayudar a tomar su decisión de actuar y irse a estudiar a Canadá? Porque hay mucha gente que lo están pensando y dice, híjole, sí, pero no es para mí, sí, pero ¿qué tal si el frío? O sí, pero ¿qué tal si el inglés? O sí, pero ¿qué tal si extraño las tortillas y la salsa picante? Sí, pero, ¿no? ¿Qué les podrías decir que les pueda ayudar a tomar esa decisión y tomar este primer paso para ya iniciar su proyecto?
Pues yo cuando me fui a estudiar a Victoria, después regresé y yo estaba con las ganas de venirme a estudiar a Canadá. Tenía la idea de estudiar medicina y pues entré a una escuela de medicina en México que se llama La Salle, pero me di cuenta que no quería medicina y que después quería estudiar biología y luego entré a la UNAM. Pero yo seguía con la idea de venirme a Canadá, yo no paraba de pensar en eso y pues entonces empezamos a buscar opciones, pero tomó como un año la planeación para venirme acá por diferentes cosas que me empezaron a pasar, pero pues el apoyo de mis papás fue muy bueno para poderme venir acá y pues lo único que tengo que decir es no rendirse porque yo estoy muy feliz acá. Y pues yo les estoy ayudando a mis papás económicamente, consiguiendo diferentes becas, pero vale la pena. Sí, o sea, soy muy feliz acá y creo que el consejo que podría dar es no rendirse, porque a pesar del idioma que pueda ser una barrera, podemos aprender. O sea, nunca es tarde para aprender. Y pues mi plan es quedarme a vivir acá en Canadá y la mejor manera de hacerlo es estudiando acá.
De acuerdo contigo. Uno, de acuerdo con tu decisión de quedarte, porque Canadá te necesita perdón, también a gente joven, preparada como tú, eh, y además, pues es un lugar donde sí puedes encontrar un muy buen trabajo. Necesitamos gente que hace toda la parte de ciencias, que estás estudiando biológica y todo eso. Muy buenas áreas con muchas oportunidades en Canadá, ya lo sabemos. Entonces, pues te felicito por lo mismo. Precisamente, cuando hablaste de conseguir becas y todo eso, había una pregunta de Francisco Cervantes, tercero, a ver si podemos poner la pregunta. Decía, can you tell us if there's any kind of financial aid for master's degree programs? A ver si la podemos poner en la pantalla, pero ahí la acabo de leer. ¿Qué le podrías contestar a eso, Valeria? ¿Tú ya conseguiste algunas becas en la universidad? ¿Cuánto fue, si no es en discreción? ¿Y cómo fue el proceso?
Pues ICM tiene ciertas becas, tiene 4 becas. Son de $250, 500, 750 y $1000 y les van dando cada term a diferentes estudiantes. Entonces, en estas becas no se aplica, tus instructores te nominan y también basado en su experiencia, en su academic development,
Yeah.
te dan la beca si la necesitas. Bueno, si ven que tuviste buenas calificaciones y te nominaron tus profesores, te la dan. Entonces yo obtuve la de $500 y apliqué para otra en mayo. Todavía no me dan los resultados, pero igual es de ICM. Y a esta beca solo se puede aplicar cuando ya terminaste tu tercer term y vas a pasar a la Universidad de Manitoba. Y la beca es de $5000, me parece.
Eso está buena.
Sí. Todavía no
Okay.
recibo noticias, pero pues cruzo dedos porque sí me la vayan a dar. Pero en la Universidad de Manitoba también hay varias becas, hay muchas becas. Y también hay unas cosas que se llaman bursaries, que también, dependiendo hay muchos bursaries de varios valores. Entonces, pues, en cierta etapa del año empiezan a sacar los bursaries y tú tienes que aplicar. Y me parece que están basados en tu nivel socioeconómico, en cuánto necesitas ese dinero para que te lo den. Eso es lo que yo entiendo. Y esos están disponibles en la Universidad de Manitoba.
Muy bien, muy bien.
Entonces están las scholarships y los bursaries.
Ok. Entonces, se escucha que es hora de la cena en Winnipeg, ¿no? Entonces, alguien está preparando la cena. Muy bien. Jenny, the question was about financial aid. And not to get into too many details, but Valeria was just saying that there are lots of options for bursary programs and financial aid, financial support for different students. What can you tell us about this? And basically, do you guys at ICM help students finding about these programs and maybe point them in the right direction? They need to apply themselves, but are you able to point them in the right direction?
Yeah, so there's when students are in their second year at the university for their undergraduate, and definitely when they're looking for their master's programs, in the sort of post undergraduate stage, there's a lot of available scholarships and bursaries that students can apply for. And sometimes it has to do with their academic success. Sometimes it has to do with their program, their specific area of study. It can be their community involvement. It can be from a lot of different sources. It is important for students to seek them out and to apply for anything and everything that applies to them. Our student advisors will be a great resource to help guide students to where those different options are, to kind of look at what the option list is for scholarships, for bursaries, where to find that information. Yes, like you said, they have to apply and they need to kind of figure out all the different pieces that they have to put together for that. And so once students have started that education journey, it becomes a lot easier for them to understand those resources, as well as to reach out to some references like their teachers, professors, some advisors, people that they'll be working with. And this will give them a good chance at getting some of those scholarship options and depending on what's available to them. I always say to every student, apply for everything that remotely applies to you, because if no one applies for the top 10 scholarships, then the money just stays there. No one gets it. So if you are one of the only applicants, you stand a good chance.
Exactly.
So always apply to everything that makes sense.
Exactly.
There's a lot of people here to help guide you.
And also, like Valeria said, these bursaries can be accumulable. You can apply at several, and you can get several. One for 500, one for 700, one for 2,000, and then you put them all together, and it's financial support, right? It's financial.
Of course. Every $100 makes sense, right? Every $500 is worth it.
Exactly. Okay, Valeria, me da mucho gusto conocerte, me gusta mucho tu historia, me gusta mucho tu energía, tu vibra. Te deseo todo lo mejor en tu proyecto de vida, que ya empezaste en Winnipeg a través de ICM, y ahora pues ya estás entrando ya en tu segundo año, ya el primer año, pero segundo año ya en la universidad en septiembre. Te deseamos en clase todo lo mejor. Que todos tus proyectos de estudios, de trabajo y de vida en Canadá se cumplen, y espero que podamos contar con tu presencia en otro webinar de clase más adelante para ver cómo vas, ¿no? Quizás en tu segundo año o tu tercer año, ya a punto de graduarte, y ya nos comentaste que tu plan es quedarte a vivir allá. Entonces, si no hablamos, también te deseamos lo mejor después de graduarte en tu vida laboral y en tu vida personal también en Canadá. Y la verdad que es una historia muy bonita la que tienes, y te felicito por todo el esfuerzo que has puesto, y también a tus papás que te han apoyado, y te deseamos todo lo mejor.
Muchas gracias, Bruno. Sí, claro que sí. Cuando me inviten yo vengo. Muchas gracias por las buenas vibras.
Gracias, Valeria. Y felicidades.
Gracias.
Thank you, Valeria.
Thank you.
Et good luck. Bonne chance avec ton français.
Thank you.
Okay. A ver, we have more questions. We have questions from this gentleman. Let me see. Yeah, that's the one. Andres says he has a bachelor's degree, wants to move to Canada. So yes, Winnipeg is one of my options. Good for you, Andres. Could you please recommend some colleges, universities to apply on for a postgraduate program? Thank you. Well, ICM is one of them, Andres, because like we said, ICM is an easier and faster and more efficient and more successful way to enter the system, because if you apply directly to the universities, it's very hard to get into those universities. Those are big institutions, and you need a high GPA to get in, a high average of grade average. So it's very hard. And so entering to an ICM makes a lot of sense, Andres. You don't waste a year. Whatever you do at ICM, you learn the way into university, but also you'll take university courses taught by the same professors as the professors from the university. And then when you finish that semester or that program, you go straight into your second year at the university. So to me, it makes all the sense in the world. And Ginny, I would ask you, and I'll tell you what I heard. I was at a conference the other day organized by you guys, and I heard this story of a student that was not doing really well in science. And then his counselor at ICM asked him to come in to see him. He came to see him and he says, okay, Alejandro or Andres, no, in this case, he says, Andres, we see you're having some issues with science. We would like you to come to a tutorial every Tuesday between 2 and 3 after your science class at 1. And you could come here. We'll have support for you by other students and also professors, and we will do this until the end of the semester to see how you're able to improve your score, your qualifications, and so they put a program. They established a strategy together. They put a program in place, and this young man went like this, and then he went into his second year university, and he graduated with honors at the university. Tell us about that program, and how is this a unique program to your institution, because nobody else does that, especially not at post-secondary level, right? Not at the level of universities in Canada.
So, and this is definitely one of the benefits of having a support team. You can think of ICM as your, almost your personal support team. It's a group of people dedicated to the success of students. Because we have way less students than the University of Manitoba does, we can really cater to the needs of students. We can really be there. We can really recognize what students need and to help them make sure that they are achieving what we know they can. Everyone is capable of doing things that they set their mind to. Sometimes they just need to be reminded that extra supports are there and you take advantage of them. Students, unfortunately, again, because it is a different thing that you're doing. Going to university is different from high school. Going to university in Canada is very different from being in school in Mexico. And so what does that mean for you? Well, you're learning a whole new system, not only learning your subjects. So yeah, the people that are here, this academic advisors, the instructors, they're very well trained. They're also just very used to, because they've been doing this for so long, they're very good at identifying what students need. And the benefit of having a class of maybe 30 people is that your instructor gets to know who you are. So you can't hide, you're not in a class of 100 people, 200 people. They're going to know how you're doing, what's going on with you. They're going to check in. They're going to work with and talk to our advisors who are going to check in with you. It's an extremely rare thing to have a student not do well and have no one know about that. There will be many different points where our advisors and our staff would be reaching out to students to make sure, we noticed that your grades in this one particular class, you didn't do as well on your last test. What's going on? We have people who will now come in and help with some of the maybe life issues that are happening. We have people who are life coaches, certified life coaches. We have someone who does social work. We have people who are here to check in on your mental health as well as your academic process. So we want the whole package, right? We want students to feel like they've got a shoulder to lean on. They've got their friends, of course, that they get to know. And so that really helps with that feeling comfortable in class. But there's also, again, the whole staff that's here to help students out. So recognizing students who maybe need a little bit extra, recognizing that students may need to have some academic supports outside of the classroom that's part of their success path, their system for their academics, is something that does happen a lot here. So yeah, our track record's really good to have students succeed to go into their second year and do very well. The skills, the tools that they have from their first year really, really help in the next couple of years. So
it makes such a big difference in in the whole experience as well, and also the stress level goes down, and you just enjoy yourself better, right? So having that, I think this is a unique support system that you have at ICM that I wish everyone had, but it's not the case, and it really makes a big difference. Cualquier persona que está interesada en lo que hemos dicho ahorita, sé que muchos de ustedes ya levantaron preguntas con el testimonio de Valeria también. Si están interesados y quieren más información, yo les invitaría a llenar el formato de contacto que está en la red social donde se encuentra, si están en YouTube, LinkedIn o Facebook. Abajo del video que están viendo hay un link, le hacen clic ahí y pueden llenar ese formato para que tengamos sus datos y podamos empezar a estar en contacto con ustedes, ¿ok? Bueno, vamos a tomar más preguntas. Una de Iván Zúñiga dice, ¿qué nivel de inglés necesito para irme a estudiar? So Ivan, Jenny is asking what level of English. So what are the English requirements you have to get into your program?
Sure. So we do have an English requirement. You can present a few different things. If you have an IELTS test, you can present that, a TOEFL test. We do need a 5.5 IELTS, for example. So if that's something that's familiar to you, you can see on the website the different scores according to what test you may have taken. We also have an internal test that we're happy to send for free. So students who apply, who need to prove English, they can take this internal test. We would send the instructions. It's all done online. The students would have to pass that test with a certain grade in order to show us that they have the English requirement met. Now, students who maybe don't quite meet the direct entry, you haven't quite met that 5.5, if you're a little bit lower, we do have an option called mixed entry. And so what's great about this is that you can still start your classes at ICM, but you will also be taking English courses over 2 terms that will help to improve your English. And so it is starting with your classes in academics that you're looking to do. You're not, not able to start. That's not the fact. You're able to start at ICM. We don't turn you away. But if you just need to prove that you can handle a little bit of a higher course load once you've accomplished English, then you'll be able to continue in your studies. It does add a little extra time, but so does adding any other English courses that you might take through a different program. So it's a mixed entry option. It's nice because you're still starting your academics, but the English prep is there, and you're only going to get better. This is the idea. You're going to take English classes to become better at it.
Right, but it's another good advantage because an IELTS 5.5 is a lower level of English needed than you would need if you went straight into university, which would be 6 or 6.5 depending on the university, right? So 5.5 is a little bit easier, and that's why you'll improve during your year, but you'll be able to start, and you're not losing any time, you're not wasting any time, because that first year translates into when you finish, you go into the second year of the whatever program you're looking at studying. Do you have a list of the programs that you can transfer to from ICM, Jenny, just so we can put it on the screen?
Yes, let's do that right now.
We also have another question. We'll take it a little bit later after we talk about this, but we have another very good question from Haroldo Caballero, and we'll take your question in a second. Okay, so here they are.
Yes, so here are our programs. So the University of Manitoba has tons of programs, like over 100 accredited programs. So there's many different things you can do. Even within the arts, the Faculty of Arts, I only have some listed here. There are so many more, but these are the programs that we have a direct entry into. So you'll notice, this is again a pretty big list. It's not the full list of the university, but it is who we work with directly. So students who come to ICM and they do some of these different areas within agriculture, food science, arts, engineering, business, environment, earth and resources, rec management, community development, and sciences in general, they'll be able to go into these programs at the University of Manitoba in their second year. So
directly.
Engineering,
They go directly into the program, right?
Yeah, so what will happen is students who apply to ICM, they are accepted to our program, they complete their first year. Within that first year, by the certain deadlines as indicated by program, so it's important to pay attention to those deadlines, students will be applying into the University of Manitoba, and they'll be applying because just because you started as a business student doesn't mean you change your mind after term 2 and decide to go into arts. So every student will have to apply again and to directly go into the University of Manitoba, but all the courses that they do will count towards their University of Manitoba second year and into their program. So yes, you do have to apply after you have completed a certain number of credits with us, but it's not that you won't get accepted as long as you've met the requirements. So you can go into, again, these programs like engineering and business, for example. These are very high competitive entry programs, high competitive entry on our end, but even higher competitive entry on the University of Manitoba side. And ICM students traditionally have had much success, higher success rates at getting into the engineering and business program when they come through ICM versus students who apply directly into the university. So this is an excellent start to that program, to that future career.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we've been together for over an hour now, and I know you're on vacations. Well, I'll take two more questions. We have more, but I'll take two more questions. One thing I want to say: so you have over 100 program. You have almost 30,000 students, 150 clubs. Like clubs within the university. You also have 6 residences. We haven't talked about that.
No.
The residences are on campus, so students can stay on campus in the residences. Do you know the cost of these residences?
It does depend on what you choose. We would say, for example, the on-campus residences, there's tons to choose from, and they all have completely different, styles. It depends on what you're looking for. If you're someone who, you want to live in kind of like family-like living, if it's an on-campus residence, but you want to have your kind of bedroom, but you have lots of people on your floor, you share kitchen space with, lounge, kind of living room space with. You could also have a roommate that lives in a sort of a separate bedroom from yours, or you could have a roommate that lives in the bedroom with you. It's sort of like when you watch movies, U.S. college movies.
In the bedroom. Okay, so I hope there's 2 beds in there. I hope.
Beds in the room, and you have a roommate. Or you have someone who, again, lives in a separate room but next to yours. So there's a ton of different options. You could also have your own bedroom with your own washroom, but let me remind you, you have to clean it. You have to clean all the things, your room, your bathroom, your toilet. If you've not done that before, maybe it's time to start cleaning your toilet at home to learn. So these are all different options. There's lots of different things that you can choose.
But you have a price range? You have a range of pricing?
So depending on the option, I would say that the room with your own washroom is going to be that's the highest cost. And so we're saying that the average cost for a year of living, so your residence, your meal plan, and things like that, could be between $13,000 to $15,000. So if you chose the sort of top of the line, it would be closer to that $15,000 mark. And again, it depends on what you decide, what you like, what your style is, what you feel like you would like to do.
And that includes meals. That includes meals and all the services included, right?
Exactly. Services that residence affords you. So there's security, 24/7 access to security, personnel who are downstairs, 24 access, of course, to your building. There's a lot of different, the newer buildings are really quite beautiful. The older buildings have their charm. So it really depends on what you're looking for. But a year's sort of living cost with your residence, your meal plan, your bus pass if you want to get a bus pass, your things that you like to do, maybe have, go out to eat, go out with friends, enjoy your time. $15,000 is a good number to kind of keep in your head as sort of one of the top living prices. Now, keep in mind, that sounds maybe like a lot. It's not. It's a very affordable price. That's because Manitoba, it's Winnipeg. It doesn't cost as much to live here.
Exactly. Very good. Okay. One more question. We have this gentleman, Haroldo Caballero, who says, estoy interesado en estudiar en Canadá. ¿Qué costo tiene la consultoría de Class Education? Muy buena pregunta, Haroldo. Primero, esos espacios aquí que hacemos para ustedes son totalmente gratuitos. Entonces, y también la consultoría para orientarte. Lo que sí cobramos es un costo de coaching, ¿no? Para orientarlos, para ayudarlos a identificar la mejor institución, el mejor destino, la mejor institución, el mejor programa que mejor se adapta a tus necesidades, Haroldo. Y también todo el proceso de registro en la escuela, porque cada escuela tiene procesos distintos. Puede ser... muchísima información que hay que compilar y nosotros te guiamos en este proceso. Hacemos nosotros el registro especial, tenemos una ventanilla express para hacer los registros, conseguimos la carta de aceptación, todo el proceso de visado, todo el proceso también de hospedaje, seguro que vas a necesitar y también cómo llegar a Canadá, ¿no? En tiempo de post pandemia, pues todavía qué hay que hacer, ¿no? Hay una aplicación que llenar, hay varias cosas todavía que hay que hacer para poder entrar al país. Entonces, nosotros te acompañamos en todo eso, sobre todo a lo largo de todo el programa, ¿no? Y este acompañamiento tiene un costo de $650, Haroldo. Se cobra una sola vez y es válido para varias aplicaciones y a lo largo del tiempo que va a estar trabajando con nosotros. Entonces, es una sola vez y estoy seguro que con este costo vas a ahorrar dinero, vas a ahorrar sobre todo tiempo también y vas a ahorrar errores, ¿no? Error que puede ser muy costoso. Imagínate que haces un semestre o un año en una institución y dices, híjole, no es lo que pensaba. Entonces ya perdiste un año y después de colegiatura y eso puede ser muy, muy costoso, ¿no? Entonces, creo que es muy, muy importante ir acompañado, ir guiado y bajo una buena consultoría de gente que se dedica a eso desde ya 28 años y que lo ha hecho con más de 10,000 personas ya para ir a estudiar a Canadá. Entonces, eso es lo que cuesta, $650. Y como decía, nos tienes a tus órdenes a lo largo de ese proyecto hasta que llegas y estés sentado ya en el asiento de la institución e inclusive más allá. ¿Ok? Muy bien. Y Glenda Reyes de Caballero, ¿qué costó sale un diploma de 2 años de enfermería? Por favor. Okay, so Glenda's asking what the price is for a 2-year nursing diploma. I don't think you have diplomas at ICM or at the University of Manitoba. So you don't offer this program, but I could tell you, Glenda, un diploma de enfermería cuesta, puede variar de una institución a la otra, de una provincia a la otra, más o menos, pero estamos hablando más o menos entre 16 y 19 mil dólares canadienses por año. Eso es de septiembre a diciembre, enero a abril. Y luego puedes estudiar durante el verano o puedes trabajar a tiempo completo. Recuerda que mientras estás estudiando podrás trabajar medio tiempo también. Entonces, ese es el costo aproximado y varía, como decía, según la provincia o la ciudad y la institución, porque según donde se encuentra en el país puede variar un tantito. Pero ese es un promedio entre 16 y 19 mil dólares canadienses por año. ¿Ok? Muy bien. Jeannie, pues I've been rubbing your vacation time for an hour and 15 minutes now. So
my patio sitting is waiting for me. So
that's right. And the wine has been poured for you. So I will let you go on that. I'll give you an opportunity though, to say goodbye and also maybe add something else that we haven't. We discussed a lot of things, but is there anything else you'd like to add before we call it a night?
Sure. Well, if Jessica, if you don't mind putting that screen up, I'll just mention that I hope that everyone enjoyed hearing from Valeria. And I honestly do believe that, our students really speak the truth. They speak volumes about what their experience really is. There's a lot of ways to connect with our students and, hear from them outside of Valeria, who's, again, happy to share her experience. But we have a lot of people who would be happy to connect with any future students about their questions and what life is really like in Winnipeg. Don't just hear it from me. Hear it from the people who have decided to make this choice to come here and to study and to choose ICM. There's ways to connect with us on our website. Please take a look through Facebook, through Instagram. Make sure that students are connecting to find out more. Again, through class, of course. I know that you're connecting students with all these resources as well. But yeah, if they ever want to speak with any other students or listen to what they have to say about what they're doing, that's a really great way to find out, again, what the real experience is here at ICM in Winnipeg. And yeah, I think, again, just to say again that this is such a brave and wonderful choice, that everyone is looking into studying in Canada, and it's really nice to hear the results from the poll there that really a lot of people who've joined us today and in general are thinking Canada and choosing this as their path. And so I hope the information here today was useful. We look forward to seeing you. We're really excited, sort of lastly, that we are really going in person again. And so this September will be sort of our first term with a majority in-person student body. And so we're very, very excited to have most of our students join us live in living color, in reality, in classroom with us here in Winnipeg. So we're getting back on track. Yeah. So mask requirement for now, but just having people in person is just so special again. And so we're excited to start going back to what we do best, which is really, bringing you into the Canadian experience. So we're excited to have you join us over the next few terms, maybe next year, and again, seeing Canada instead of just being on a screen, but actually coming and meeting us in person.
That's right. Very good. Thank you very much, Jenny, for this. And I think you've raised another question from Gabriela Silva, who says, ¿cuánto tiempo de anticipación se debe aplicar para estudiar a la universidad? So how much anticipation should I consider in applying for university in Canada? That's a very good question. And right now, these times have been moving, right? We need more time now because Canadian institutions are basically, as I always say, they're a victim of their own success. That means they're filling up earlier and earlier each time. So what would you consider would be a good time to consider to apply?
This is a great question, actually. And it really has to do, for us, it has to do with the visa times. And so because it's taking quite a long time for students to get their visa from Canada, this is something that's required for you, which if you're studying for a while, it is. And so this is a good rule of thumb is 6 months in advance. So I would say apply to ICM, apply to the college or the university you're looking for, apply 6 months in advance. ICM, we don't have a deadline to apply by. We have 3 start terms: September, January, and May, and you can apply anytime before those deadlines. But if you can't get here because you don't have your visa, then unfortunately you'll have to wait until the next term. So we don't have students join at any point. It has to be one of those 3 points. That's sort of our deadline. So I would say that 6 months is probably the best. If you have 3 months and you are confident you can get your visa, then if that's what you're doing, great, you can still apply 3 months in advance. If you are really living on the edge and you decide to apply a few weeks before term starts and you feel like you can get here or you already have your visa, perfect, we'll take your application then as well. But again, the earlier you apply, the better your chances of getting your visa. Also, the earlier you can apply to your residence. So you do have to apply quite early to your accommodation. That's another good deadline to keep in mind. That one is usually a couple of months in advance as well. So the earlier you apply to your accommodation, the better chances you will get the one that you want when it opens up for choosing your actual accommodation option.
Right. So now would be a good time to apply for January and or even May 2023. And
Absolutely.
I think in September you'll open probably the September 2023 registration as well. Correct? Something like that?
So probably within the next month, actually, it'll open for September 2023.
Okay. So we have lots of time, and better go with more time than less time. A lot less stressful for everybody. Though the visa process for Mexico is very agile and it's going really well. We have experiences of students getting their visa within a month sometimes, but usually we'll go with 4 to 6 weeks. So it's still a pretty fast time compared to other countries in the world. So we thank our government for that because we have a very high response rate. We're in the 98+% of acceptance for visa for Mexicans into Canada for study visa. So that's a very good rate. Okay, muy bien. Jenny, muy bien. Muchas gracias. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for ICM for accompanying us today and getting helping us getting to know your program better, and certainly truly putting Winnipeg and Manitoba on the map as the best place in Canada. Thank you, Jenny. I think you should run for ambassador of Winnipeg.
Not the first time I've heard that. Wait till you get here and I take you on a tour of the city, because that's when you'll really fall in love.
Okay, I'm going. I'm coming. All right. Thank you very much, Jenny. A toda la audiencia, muchísimas gracias por sus preguntas. Recuerden que estamos aquí cada jueves a las 7 para hablar de eso precisamente, y cada jueves con una diferente institución para que vayan enterándose de las opciones que existen en Canadá para ustedes y las oportunidades y cómo podemos hacer para ayudarles a tomar una mejor decisión y empezar ese proceso de estudios en Canadá que seguramente les puede cambiar la vida. Yo soy Bruno Perón de Class Education. Quien está interesado en lo que comentamos hoy, por favor, llene el formato de contacto que se encuentra en su red social para que tengamos sus datos y empezamos a estar en contacto con ustedes. Y si necesitan hacer un Zoom con nosotros directamente o también con Jenny, la podemos invitar a que esté con nosotros para contestar cualquier pregunta que tienen. Aprovechemos eso, iniciamos este proceso. También abajo de la pantalla pueden ver los datos de Class Education, donde se pueden contactar con nosotros. Y este video va a estar en nuestra biblioteca de webinars en nuestro canal de YouTube. Entonces, toda esta información se queda guardada para ustedes para cuando lo quieran volver a ver. ¿Ok? Muchísimas gracias. Recuerden que cada jueves a las 7 estamos aquí y cada martes 6 p.m. estamos en Instagram Live. Muchas gracias a todos. Muy buenas noches. Que descansen. Jenny, now it's time for that glass of wine.
Okay. Muchas gracias.
Thank
Bye,
you,
everybody.
Jenny.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night. Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yo atribuiría el éxito de Class Education básicamente a 3 cosas. Primero, la gran experiencia que tenemos en el mercado, que son más de 10,000 alumnos que hemos enviado en el extranjero a través de los 27 años de experiencia.
Pues conformamos un equipo responsable, amigable.
Saber que la educación siempre trae grandes beneficios.
Se siente muy, muy satisfactorio formar parte de cambiar la vida de una persona.
Class Education ha demostrado que en tiempos retadores, cuando se trabaja en equipo y con un gran liderazgo, se pueden lograr cosas muy grandes.
El negocio de Class Education claramente es apoyar a la gente para ir a estudiar en el extranjero, pero el verdadero impacto de lo que hacemos es literalmente cambiar la vida de la gente.
Me apasiona el hecho de ver las caras, que ahorita es por Zoom, pero es el hablar con los estudiantes o con los papás y que al final me digan, al final de esa llamada que me digan, me aclaraste todas mis dudas.
Lo más satisfactorio es cuando pues un estudiante te dice gracias.
Y el empatizar con los papás de yo he mandado a mis hijas, te entiendo como papá, y saber qué es lo que están buscando para sus hijos. Creo que eso fue el match perfecto que me hizo quedarme en Class.
Lo que diferencia el equipo de Class Education para mí es el hecho que tenemos un gran compromiso hacia el servicio.
Una de las cosas que más me gusta de estar en Class Education es que las crisis que otros ven, nosotros los vemos siempre como áreas de oportunidad.
Es algo súper enriquecedor. Si bien pues todos tenemos un trabajo, una labor, aquí es el trabajo de cumplir sueños.
Trabajando con el equipo de Class Education me siento súper bien en el día a día porque todos somos individuos que buscamos lo mismo, que es hacer crecer a nuestros estudiantes.
Me sigue emocionando, me sigue dando una emoción increíble cuando sale su visa, cuando ya tiene su vuelo, cuando le damos la plática de salida.
Emocionados, te bendicen y te dan las gracias por haberles ayudado a hacer su trámite, por haber cumplido su sueño.
Con Customer Experience lo que queremos lograr es no solamente que se quede la guía en el proceso desde que tú nos contactas hasta que tomes el avión, sino que vayan más allá y que ya que estás en la escuela, si tienes algún problema, dudas que puedes tener estando ahí en la escuela, que nos busques, que nosotros te ayudamos a tratar de resolver todo eso.
Si alguien necesita apoyo de otro departamento, nos apoyamos. Ese es el objetivo de Class, porque necesitamos cambiar una vida de una persona.
Pero creo que cuando trabajas en equipo y escuchas a tu gente, puedes reinventarte, que fue lo que hicimos en este caso. Nos reinventamos, nos fuimos a la parte online.
Hemos estado innovando a raíz de la pandemia, todo el tema de mayor exposición en redes, el tema de estar presentes en los webinars.
Yo describiría Class Education en 3 palabras: pasión, experiencia y seguridad.
Amistad significa compañerismo y significa sueños.
Calidad, experiencia y cambio.
Profesionalismo, compañerismo, es una familia.
Líder en el mercado, es confiable, y sobre todo, seguro.
Class Education es respaldo, experiencia y pasión por servir.
En Class Education todos estamos conscientes de la importancia que es hacer realidad los sueños de las personas.
Así es que no lo dudes, hazlo con clase.
Hazlo con clase.
Hazlo con clase.
Hazlo
Con clase.
Hazlo con clase.
La decisión de tu futuro no es una tarea fácil. Elegir el programa de estudios, la escuela, hacer la aplicación a los college o universidades canadienses tampoco lo es. No te arriesgues, no pospongas tus sueños por no saber dónde iniciar. Class Education es la forma más fácil para estudiar en un college o universidad en Canadá de manera confiable. Tenemos más de 27 años realizando aplicaciones de miles de estudiantes ante las instituciones educativas canadienses a través de asesores especializados en México y con oficinas en Canadá. Nosotros nos encargaremos desde el trámite de tu permiso de estudios, aplicación a las escuelas, traducciones de documentos, alojamiento, etc. Agenda una asesoría virtual sin costo. Déjanos ser el camino a tu éxito que cambiará tu vida en Canadá.